Lifewell Coaching and Consultant. I'm so excited, of course, happy to be here. Um, Today we're going to dig deeper into a topic that we've been talking about. We started talking about it, stress and burnout. But I want to have a conversation with you all about how really and truly self care is a leadership strategy. When you really lean into those that you serve, the ones who are serving everybody else, your team, that's a true leadership strategy. And factually, honestly, it is the secret to sustainable influence. Because what happens is you, as a leader, or you influence those around you. Good morning, Roz. Thank you for joining. Good morning, YouTube. Thank you for joining. Y'all, those around us, they take up what we do. And so that's why I titled this Self Care as a Leadership Strategy. It is your competitive edge. When you take care of yourself, those around you take care of themselves. That is a true competitive edge because guess what? You prevent burnout, you prevent chronic stress, and you prevent people from leaving. And then you have to train somebody all over again who realize I did not sign up for this. This is way too much for me. And then guess what? They're gone in 3 months if they make it 3 months. So, self care as a leadership strategy is our conversation this morning. Not only am I a lifestyle and a leadership coach, I'm also a health coach. So, make sure you got your water this morning. Let me sip on mine so we can get into this conversation. Now, before we get started and lean into this, go ahead on and tag a leader or a person in your life, somebody who pours constantly and somebody who's always showing up for others. We know them people. Tag them and tell them your girl is on this morning. Tag them and let them know they need to be on here. And so let's get into this conversation while y'all tag a few people, because today we're just not talking about self-care and bubble baths and days off. We're talking rest. And if you're taking notes, we're talking rest as a strategic skill. So go ahead and drop one word in the chat. Oh, thank y'all for joining. Drop one word in the chat, in the comments if you're on YouTube. Describe one word how you're feeling today. It's Friday. Figured out Friday. Be honest. Are you tired? Are you motivated? Are you overwhelmed? Are you peaceful? Are you ready for the weekend? Have you been looking forward to the weekend all week long? Let's check in. Let's check in. Positive. I'm feeling positive. Good. I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling positive. Yeah, I'm a little tired myself, if I may be, and I choose to be honest. I'm a little tired myself. I actually wanted to sleep in a little longer. Had some travels over the last couple of days. Actually, I've been resting, intentionally resting, and so I'm a little tired from travels. Yet and still, as Maya Angelou said, I rise. I rise for the occasion this morning, and that is to be here for Figured Out Friday. So go ahead and drop your one word in the chat. Yes, what's your one word in the chat that describes how you're feeling today? Tired, you're motivated, excited, you're ready for the weekend. Roz, how you feeling over there? How are you feeling over there, T. Roz? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? Good morning, y'all. Let's get into this conversation because I've learned a lot over the years and on my journey when we're talking about how you influence those around you. And so the thing about it and the work that we do when you show up, if you're not intentional with showing people how to move. And I'm talking about when you show people about how important it is to rest, how important it is to practice daily rhythms of self-care. The work that we do is absolutely not sustainable. And that's why people are leaving careers. They ain't just leaving careers. They're tired of a lot of things. They're tired of everybody. They want to leave life. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, what are we doing to show a community of rest And I had a pleasure and a privilege of being in an environment this week to really just exercise that, to really exercise a place of rest. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning, because you too, you too, you also need to rest. Okay, you also need to rest. All right, let's talk about this. We oftentimes we live amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you all. Welcome YouTube, welcome Facebook. Coach Regina, we're doing Life Well Coaching and Consultant. Such a pleasure on this Figured Out Friday. So thank y'all. Please share this out. Make sure you share this out with somebody who needs to pick up a new strategy as they're going along. Pick up a new strategy as they're going out, as they're going along. So this is the thing. I know this, I've been there and I've done that. But what I know, that influence without restoration is not sustainable. We influence people around us, but if we're not influencing them to practice daily rhythms of rest, not living for the weekend, not living for the next vacation, not living if you wait for state or federal government, not waiting for the next day off. But how do we practice daily rhythms that support us in our wellness? And I want you all to write this down, whether you put it in your journal or put it in your heart. I want you to write, this is the first thing I want you to write down this morning. You can't lead well if you don't live well. You can't lead well if you don't live well. My Facebook said, "Live weekend ready, weekend ready." Thank you for pulling up. Y'all share this out. Thank you for pulling up. You can't lead well if you don't live well. And that's in every area of your life. So when your body is tired, a couple of things are happening. When your body is tired, when your mind is foggy and your spirit is heavy, your ability to influence begin to diminish. You don't have that same capacity. You don't have that same wit and intelligence. You're not hitting on all cylinders. Good morning, Chantel. Listen, good morning. Not because you don't have passion, but because oftentimes we neglect to pause. We're having these pausing conversations. We neglect to pause. We neglect to pause. We're always on go. I used to be that girl. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. I've just been in spaces where I've been having these conversations, but I myself am a work in progress. Because when your body is tired, your mind and your spirit is heavy. What you think you're giving people, you're not. You ain't giving them the best of you anymore at that point. Because people that have kids and you're exhausted, one of them come over and ask you something, you probably gonna say yeah, and you meant to say no, or you want to say no. So today I want us to redefine rest. Today we're going to redefine rest, because we live in a culture that speaks on the grind. Gotta get it on the grind. Gotta get it on the grind. And then we're just so elated to be getting it on the grind. And the thing about it is, that's problematic. Our bodies, our minds are not designed to be plugged in 24/7. Our bodies and minds are not designed to be plugged in 18 hours a day, but that's what we give. We're always on high alert, giving high attention. But the matter of fact is, we need to learn to pause. We need to learn to build rhythms of rest in our everyday factors. And so today we're going to redefine rest. We're going to redefine rest. Rest, I've heard people say, she's just lazy. She got out of work. She's just lazy. No. When people get out of work, even if it's at 3:30 or 4:30, and they want to take a nap even before dinner, it's because they've given so much while they were there, them 8 hours. 8 hours may be on the clock, but it's probably 16 hours mentally and what all they had to really deal with, right? So rest is not lazy. But I want you to think about it as a strategy. When applied the right way, it is a strategy. Man, y'all, there was a season in my life when I was doing what they say, all the things. Like, I mean, literally all the things, right? And so you're talking from an 8 to 5 standpoint, leading a department where I was responsible for the activities or the initiatives for a full state, okay? And so you got meetings, you got curriculum development. More importantly for me, I had team development, making sure each week I was spending time with my team in a quality, in a meaningful way where they felt seen, heard, and connected from behind the screen, making sure we had time for in-person restoration for every leader out there who likes to zoom, 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 okay? And so you're talking all the things, making sure my department was ran with integrity and humanity. Pick that up, please, in your spirit. Integrity and humanity, meaning that I care about my team. And that's from the 8 to 5 standpoint. So I was doing all the things. Then a producer of content, the work that I do in order to show up on, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So you're talking about a producer who's creating her own content. I don't have nobody snip and chop and shop my stuff. Whatever you see, that's what your girl produce. Then we're talking speaking engagements where I'm traveling sometimes twice a week. And we're not mentioning just general serving others, like just generally serving my family and friends in a healthy way. But because you can't get too busy for people. And if you do, that's a problem. If you get too busy for people, just caught up in your thing, then that's a problem. Then, of course, I'm coaching clients on a one-on-one basis at the time. And so you're talking about doing all the things. Team at work, high functioning, creating and producing content, speaking engagements, facilitating conversations, serving others, coaching clients. But somewhere in there, I forgot. And this is the same case for a lot of you. You're forgetting to serve yourself. I heard this so many times while I was in this space doing my resting and relaxation. I heard it so many times that we're still, and I've been having this conversation, I know, since July, because I did dump dairy in June. So since July, I've been talking about self-care and wellness practices, and we're still forgetting to serve ourselves. I noticed that sometimes when I'm in conversations, I can be a little short with people. Sometimes your patience run a little low, even though you're doing all the things. At some point, if we're honest, we get drained. Like, you get mentally and physically and emotionally drained. People pulling on you, and pulling on you. They're sapping everything out of you. And if you're not in communities where it's being poured back into you, you are going to be so drained that you're no longer giving people the best of you. You're giving them the less of you. I ain't said least. You're giving them what's left of you because you're drained and you're exhausted and you've not refueled your plate. And so I had to pause. When I realized that I was leading my cup wasn't empty, but it wasn't full enough to keep giving at a high level. So that's why I want to invite you into this conversation. All of my amazing go-getters and doers out there, rest. I want you to type this in the comments. Rest is not a weakness. I told you that it wasn't lazy. Rest is not a weakness. Rest is actually wisdom. Rest is wisdom. When you start to have that intuitive expression that I cannot go, as they say, like the Energizer Bunny, that I need to pause, you begin to use the information that you have and make better decisions, which is a wise thing to do. So I say rest is wisdom. And so I had to learn that I was inadvertently training a team to operate at that same level without some type of a rest. Then I had to pull that thing back in, acknowledge. I had to verbally acknowledge to my team, hey, y'all, we had a real conversation. Like, so much so at the time, the organization that I work with, we were doing some team building activities, and they brought in a professional out of Oregon. The lady came out of Oregon and did a week long intensive with us, and we all did individual surveys on each other to be honest with your team. And so, in that spirit, pause right there. Facebook comment says, just told my spouse, I just want to stay in bed on Saturday, do nothing. Facebook, I 100% support that. Where is the requirement that you got to get out and go shopping on Saturday? Who put in the stipulation that you got to go watch the flowers on Saturday? Who told you that you have to go to the movies on Saturdays at 2 o'clock because it's a matinee? Who told you that you had to get up? Here's one that you might not like. Who told you that you had to get up and clean your house on Saturdays and spend all day cleaning your house on Saturdays, and then Sunday you tired and you don't want to go to work on Monday? Or if you're retired, who told you you got to still get up at 6 o'clock in the morning when you don't feel like it or you don't want to? Facebook, do nothing. Here's your permission. Have that conversation with your spouse again. I agree with that. Or clean the house or do laundry. Facebook said they don't want to do nothing on Saturday. And that is okay. That if you don't want to do laundry, here's the thing. Don't do laundry. Take all that pressure off. If you don't want to clean your house, don't clean your house. And I did an extended pause because that's not something that's gonna be favored. And I'll say this: my mom, honey, if she come to my house and see a plate not washed, she's like, "Why you didn't wash that plate?" And, ma'am, because people live here. When she would come here when I was working, people live here to have jobs. I don't feel like washing a dish when I get out of work sometimes. I don't feel like I got laundry on my couch right now. And I may or may not fold it today. If you're in my circle and you come to my house and you want to say something about the clothes on my couch, are we really in good relationship? Because what a friend would do or what a sister would do is sit down. Evidently, I didn't want to do it for some reason. They may offer it. I may say no, but instead of judging me, they may offer, girl, you need some help with that. Because here's the thing, we put all these cultural expectations just like eating breakfast. Who told you that you gotta eat grits and eggs for breakfast every morning? Or grits, eggs, turkey, sausage, and bacon? Who said that was breakfast? All you doing when you wake up in the morning because you've been asleep for 8 hours or longer or less, you're breaking a fast from not eating from a certain period of time. But we've been conditioned that we have to eat these certain items, but you do not. For those that eat meat, you can eat chicken for breakfast if you choose to. You can eat steak for breakfast for your first meal. My point is, has nothing to do with eating. My point is, we've been conditioned to operate in a certain way, which can cause us stress and remove our rest. Because when we want to meet societal expectations and conform, be ye not conform, when we try to meet those societal expectations, we add unnecessary, undue stress to ourselves. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, we do this. And here's the deal. I'm in a different space right now. I'm a working in progress. I'm working on my rest plan. I'm working on my renewal plan. Not just, y'all, I'm just going to rest this weekend. No. Just like when I was in the career and I had a 5-year strategic career plan on how I was going to move up until 2025. I had no idea that I was going to retire in 2025. God led me to that, and so, but I'm working on a strategic rest plan, and I invite you to do the same. Thank you so much for sharing that. Facebook said they don't want to do laundry. They don't want to put it up. They don't want to do nothing. And I encourage you to honor that space. I encourage us to start honoring these spaces and remove these expectations that we're allowing external influences to put this unnecessary stress on us, right? And so let's dive into this conversation about redefining rest. Redefining rest. For my note takers and for everybody, make sure you put this in. Let's break this down. I want you to remember rest differently today, okay? I want you to remember rest differently today. When I say rest, this is what I'm referring to as a way to create you a rest plan. Type in the chat, rest plan. Rest plan. We like to have all kind of improvement plans. We want to have a self-care plan, which is good. Now what's up, P? Now we want to move that thing beyond just self-care because we come up with these self-care plans, which is good. Those of you who have a self-care plan, I would love for you to share your self-care plan because I want you to recognize how we build these rhythms in on a daily basis and not wait until the weekend, not wait until a party, not wait until a conference, not wait until a retreat. You can't wait to rest. Type that in the chat. Your body and your mind cannot wait until from Monday to Friday to rest. You can't do that. So let's break this down. Let's break this down. When I say rest, here's what I mean. Type this in the comments, type this in the chat. R for rest in this framework is reconnect with your values. Reconnect with your values. And we're going to break it down further. The E is evaluate your energy. You're going to evaluate your energy. Facebook said they can't wait to rest. I'm with you, sis. I'm with you, sis. The S is surrender what you can't control. We're not going to be stressing over here, okay? And then the T is, here's one that may be hard for people, so you might have to lean into this a little more with some intentionality. Here's the T for people. Here's the T for rest. I want to make sure y'all hear me. T is trust. Trust that stillness is productive. All right, that's our framework for today. That's what we're going to be leaning into. So let's have this conversation just a little bit further. I said the R in rest. I want you to think about rest differently. It's not lazy. Rest is not lazy. It's actually restorative. And so let's unpack this thing. When we talk about reconnect with your values, I want you to reconnect with your values. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself, because we like to, somebody that song said, we like to party. Hey, but we like to go. We always on the go. So I want to ask you, I want you to ask yourself these questions. When you're talking about reconnecting with your values, remember we're talking about rest as a leadership strategy. We're talking about sustainable, being able to have sustainable influence. So reconnect with your values. Ask yourself this question. What matters most to me right now? What matters most to me right now? Now, for my Facebook person who says they don't want to do all this stuff on Saturdays, then you ask yourself, what matters most to me right now? Does it matter that I want to rest and so I'm not going to get out of bed because I don't feel like it? Or does it matter that I have this mindset that I grew up with that on Saturday mornings, you got to get up early and do all these things? Break away from your old traditions. Break away from the old value systems that no longer serve you. What matters most to you right now? Because here's the thing. Misalignment causes exhaustion. There is a tension there. Why put yourself through that struggle when you can realign with your current value system? When your actions are disconnected from your values, you start to have energy leaks because you're in a constant tension. That is the R. The R is for you to reconnect with your values. Simple question. Simple question. Type that in the chat. Type that in the comments. Very simple question. YouTube, let me know you're here. Type it in the comments. Very simple question for your R in rest. When you think about rest now, I want you to think about it differently. The R is reconnect with your values. What matters to me right now? Hey, what's up? What's up, Sharon? Good morning. Reconnect with your values so you're not in tension. Because when you're misaligned, you're going to be exhausted. When you're misaligned, you're going to be mindlessly involved in things that are no longer serving you. Reconnect with your values. That's our R. E for rest. This is how I want you to think about rest differently. I'm not just talking about going and taking a nap. I want you to do some work here, right? E is evaluate your energy. Evaluate your energy. Here is your question. Here is your questions for evaluating your energy, okay? First, the R is reconnect. I asked you to ask yourself, what matters most to me right now? That's your R, okay? Your E is evaluate your energy. Evaluate your energy. Real simple, real simple. Type this in the comment. Here's your assignment. Here's your weekend assignment. Who or what is draining you? A legitimate question. Who or what is draining you? That's how we're going to evaluate our energy. Who or what is sapping all the life out of me? Sometimes we can be thinking that we think things are so productive. There are these things that we spend a great amount of time in doing, but is that in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing in my present assignment? It could just be an energy drainer. I'm doing an assessment myself, y'all. I'm doing evaluation myself. There are some things that have been draining me that I gotta let go. I'm making a choice. I get to let them go. I don't gotta. I get to let them go. So I want you to ask yourself who or what is draining you. And then the flip side to that coin, who or what is filling you up. So it's not just about being drained. Who or what is filling you up? Because as a leader of your household, a leader of an organization, a company, if you're leading in any place, then it is very important that you as a leader protect your energy. Here's why. Or hit like it's a part of your job description. We cannot be just into things that are not serving us well. If you're an entrepreneur, write that into your own job description. You know, protect my energy. How do I do that? I need to evaluate who or what is draining me. Who or what is filling you up. That is the E. Simple question, but it is going to take you time to be honest with yourself. You might like to do this thing, but is it still in alignment at this point in time? I'm talking to myself now, y'all. Talking to myself now. I got to evaluate my energy. What's been draining me? Why have I allowed this thing to drain me? Well, forget why. Just stop. I'm not going to get into all this psychological, all this, you don't have to go 10 toes deep on why. You just have to decide who or what is draining you and whether or not you're going to continue to allow them to. Sometimes we chase ourselves down these rabbit holes trying to figure out why, and that's not necessary. All you need to know is this has been draining me. Will I continue? Because sometimes we give too much thought and too much energy to things that are no longer serving us, and then we talk our way out of doing something different. That's your E. Evaluate your energy. The S, I'm going to invite you to surrender. If you're still with me on Facebook, YouTube, type in the comments, type in the chat, surrender. Your S is surrender. Surrender what you can't control. So we lose so much peace trying to manage people's perceptions or outcomes that aren't ours to fix. I'm going to repeat that for those in the back row. We lose so much peace trying to manage people's perceptions, mainly of us, or outcomes about other people's lives that aren't ours to fix. I believe, I believe the word says, cast your cares on him. You ain't got to cast them on me for me to carry. He will carry your burdens. We can have a conversation, but it's not my job to fix. I can't fix. But we get caught up in ourselves, create so much anxiety, tension, because we're trying to fix situations that we weren't designed to fix. Whether it's in your workspace or in your home, you're not designed to fix. First of all, I got a revelation this week that people are not broken. We ran here no, people are not broken. They may be bruised, but they're not broken. Their spirits may have experienced some crushing, but they're not broken. So you cannot fix, okay? People are not widgets. You can't put tape on it and fix it and make it work the way it used to work. You cannot do that. So I'm inviting you to a place of surrender. Give that thing back to the owner to take ownership of. You cannot manage, you cannot control people's perceptions of you. When you decide to make these changes and start to practice radical rest, meaning I'm reconnecting with my values, whatever that looks like for you, everybody around you will not want to reconnect with your values. Everybody around you will not understand your new philosophy on rest. You may identify someone who has been in your energy space, sapping all your energy, and you decide to unannounced take a sabbatical. How many people feel like you can just take a rest without letting people know? We got to get permission to take a rest. Here's your permission today. Here's your permission today. Take a rest. I'm taking a rest. I don't know if y'all noticed or not. My girl did check on me. Thank you, sister. My Bible study teacher, she checked on me. She said, I was just checking in on you. Here's the deal. I've been on social media for 5 days, no engagement. I did not announce it to nobody. I just have not been there. I had not been on here at all. I did my live last Friday, and that was it. I took 5 days to rest without announcing it. Rest, renewal, and I was able to gain some clarity. Facebook said you have been missing. Yes. I did not pull out my business computer. I was not on my business phone. I wrapped up a challenge last Thursday. I have not sent them out the information because Friday I did my live and then I just did some prep and then I just vanished for 5 days. Yes. My YouTube said I surely reached out. Where were you at, sister? It is good to rest. I unplugged for 5 days with intention. So I'm inviting to this space. When you talk about surrendering what you can't control, you can control your rest. You can control, because that's why I'm inviting you to create an actual rest plan and not just say, Saturday, I'm not going to do anything. Oh, Sunday is my rest day. What is this, October? Some people are like, I'm waiting on Veterans Day. In the federal people, I'm waiting on Veterans Day in November. Some people like, I'm waiting on Thanksgiving. And if you in college and you on here, you waiting on your Thanksgiving break. So we're waiting to rest. I want to invite you to create an actual rest plan, right? Create a rest plan. So we talked about we want to reconnect with our values. We want to think about the framework for rest. Reconnect with your values. What matters to me? Evaluate your energy. Who's draining you? What's draining you? Release what's no longer serving you. Period. You may have to create a energy draining exit plan. Because some things you cannot just unplug, like, oh, I'm done with that. You may be in the middle of a project or in the middle of a commitment. Do not abandon your commitment. But I want to invite you into a space before you say yes again. Take some time to breathe and reflect on it so that you don't find yourself in another energy draining situation unintended. So reconnect with your values. Evaluate your energy. Surrender what you can't control. You cannot control other people's perspectives, perceptions of you, and you cannot control the outcomes of people. You're not designed to fix people. We're not the creator. People are not broken. That's my real message in that one. People are not broken. They don't need to be fixed. And then our T, trust. Type this in the comment. Trust that stillness is productive. This is a tough one. And I know this is a tough one. If you're moving, you're not progressing. But sometimes your growth is happening underground. When you plant seeds, but you hoping and praying. But when you water that thing, when you nurture that thing, it's going to sprout up. But we believe that we have this perception, cultural perception, that if we're not moving, we're not progressing. If you're not moving, you're going backwards. I used to say that foolishness too. But stillness, type this in the comment for me. Stillness does not mean stagnation. Stillness does not mean stagnation. It means preparation. It means preparation. Stillness does not mean stagnation. So let's pause here. I want you to take a deep breath with me because we need to. Some practices for all of us that's trying to figure this rest thing out. Take a deep breath in with me. And out through your nose. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now I want you to ask yourself, where in my life do I need to reconnect? What's been draining my energy? These are things I want you to think about. I want you to ask yourself, where in my life do I need to reconnect? What's been draining my energy? And then what's something I need to surrender this week? Not next month, not next year, but what is something I need to surrender this week? You know God done told you let that thing go and you still trying to hang on to it. This is your reminder. Lord, show me a sign. Here's your sign. Here's your sign. So I want you to drop in the comment. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Whatever comes to your mind first. What is one thing you need to reconnect? What is something that's been draining you, if you're comfortable sharing? And then what is something you need to surrender this week? So drop your comment. We some overthinkers. We some overachievers. I know how y'all are. Been there, done that. I always got to analyze. But here's the thing. Rest is not, and I already mentioned this, and I want to come back to it because we like to take a good, we like to take a good nap. And I've been napping too, because that's a sign too. Rest does not always mean taking a nap. Sometimes it's saying no to the wrong thing so that you're not drained. You're not in this tense place with an overcommitment. Then you got to go back and disconnect, trying to do everything for everybody. That is something that she needs to let go of and surrender over here on Facebook, trying to do everything for everybody. Yeah. One of the things that I had to learn to do is to practice effective development. Like I learned to develop those around me because I was an enabler. I would enable those around me. And even family members, you can enable family members to where you're always the go-to person. And when you are, they're always going to go to you. So I had this philosophy that I created. If people are able-bodied, then they are able. If they don't have any mental, cognitive, physical limitations, then why do I feel so obligated to be responsible for things that they can do themselves? I'm talking to my lady on Facebook. If they can help you out, if these people that you're doing everything for, if they're able-bodied, mentally capable, they're not sick, and even if they have some kind of condition, this is one thing that I had to learn when my mom had a stroke back in 2015. I was trying to do everything for her. No one wants their loved ones to seem like they're suffering. In my mind, I wanted to make sure that she didn't have a want, she didn't have a need, and I wanted to be there to make sure anything she couldn't even reach for a cup, okay? You know, she had mobility with her hand, but I didn't want her even reaching for a cup. I'm trying to put it in her hand. She had to tell me I can do that myself. Sometimes, to my Facebook lady, sometimes we overdo things for people who are capable and able of doing things themselves. We've taken on these responsibilities that we believe people have this expectation of us. Whether they do or don't, we have to make a decision. Am I going to continue in this way? So thank you for sharing that. She said, I'm starting to release this. Yes, yes. And even in that, my Facebook dear, create your release plan. Identify those 10 things or 10 situations that have been draining you, where you find out every time she calls, she wants something. Every time he calls, he needs something. So identify that and then create a release plan. And that way you can go back and evaluate, did I follow my plan? Did the plan actually work? Do I need to modify my plan? That's very good. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. So let's shift gears just a little bit. Let's talk about why I believe rest is a strategy. It's not just about taking things off your plate. Effective leaders, if you're leading, we lead in life. We lead, we're high-powered people. We have a lot of responsibilities, even in our families. We just lead, we lead. But here's the thing. We're always on go. Yes, people can rely on us, but I want you to type this in the comment. Effective leaders, they don't just work hard. They don't just lead well. I want you to adopt this philosophy. They recover well. You can't just lead well. You got to learn how to recover well. Anybody that knows sports and know about athletes, they run hard, they play the game, but they have a very rigorous recovery process also. So let me say this again. Effective leaders don't just lead well, they learn to recover well. Because, and type that in the comment, I'm going to recover well. I'm not just going to lead well, I'm going to recover well. Here's what I want to say. When you prioritize rest, number one, you make better decisions. You make better decisions. Number two, you communicate with clarity. You're not foggy, you're not exhausted, you don't have all these thoughts running around in your head because you've had time to process and prioritize your thoughts. You have more focused conversations when you're rested. And then number three, when you prioritize rest, you model boundaries for those around you. You model boundaries for your family. You model boundaries for your team. And here's one that when you prioritize rest, we can contribute to a culture where burnout isn't the norm. Right now, burnout is the norm. When you have conversations, and these conversations that I've been having with people who are entering certain professions, particularly the medical profession, medical profession, education, social services. Those are three, did I say education? Yes, medical profession, social services, and education. When I've had plenty of conversations, and here's what I hear often. Yes, burnout is expected in education. Burnout is expected in social services. Nobody's going to do that. So why are we normalizing burnout? So when we start to prioritize rest, We can create a culture that starts with me where burnout isn't the norm. You shouldn't be burning out of something that you thoroughly enjoy. If you no longer enjoy it, we go back to it and we reevaluate, right? We go back and we reevaluate. So you're not just influencing what you do, you're influencing how you live. It's not just oh what I do. You're not just influencing through what you do. You have influence on how you live. People are watching you. If you don't unplug, if you don't rest, what you're saying is that it is not okay to unplug. It is not okay to rest. We're normalizing chronic stress. We're normalizing high blood pressure. We're normalizing taking all these medications because we are not prioritizing our health and well-being. Rest makes your leadership magnetic because it becomes an authentic way that you show people that this is how we can live and have sustainable practices. There was a time, and I had a conversation with my last team that I worked with. After we, got to know each other pretty good, and they learned me, and I learned that this is a very high functioning team. Really, really, teams they need to know what the mission is. They need to know what the objectives are, but they don't need you to task manage. They know how to do that. Unfortunately, leaders often get bogged down in the weeds and you can't rest. So after I learned my team, after they learned me, we had a real candid conversation. I was in a position where it was the role at that time was not life or death. Life or death decisions were not being made. And so I put boundaries in place. These are our hours of communication. If it's not an emergency, these are our hours of communication. If I'm off work, I'm unavailable. People don't want to hear that. They want you to be tuned in and plugged in. If you're in a position where that is the case, then have you develop people around you where your leaders have the process of how you would analyze a situation and they discuss it, make the best decision without you, and you learn to be okay with that. People have a hard time, and I understand that you have to build trust in your team. That's why you don't get no rest, because you don't trust your team and they don't trust you. You have to put in the work. But when my team was able to see that I was trustworthy, that they could trust me, I trusted their decision making, I could go on a vacation and not have to be checking in and checking my work stuff because I knew that they were capable of handling it. And so when people see that you trust them, then they step up a little bit higher. Oh, it's in them. They sitting on all those skills, right? People are drawn to leaders who lead from overflow and not overwhelm. Type that in the comments. People are drawn to leaders who lead from overflow and not overwhelm. There are people walking around every day talking about how overwhelmed they are. And I'm like, how are you not reevaluating your life at this point? I'm like, I really want to ask you what your health markers are. That's what I really want to ask them. So let's make this thing practical. Before we get out of here, let's make this thing practical. Let's make this thing very, very practical. Here we go. We talked about reconnect with your values, evaluate your energy, surrender what you can't control, trust that stillness is productive. So let's make this thing practical before we get out of here, right? Let's make it practical. Yeah, nobody wants to be, I don't want to be around nobody that's always overwhelmed. I'm all over the place. I don't want that. I don't want that on me. I don't want your overwhelmness and your chaotic state on me. People work in chaos. They always just in high, right? And I'm not talking about high vibrations. I'm talking about high chronic stress. I'm not talking about high positivity. They're overwhelmed and they know that they're overwhelmed, but they're making choices not to do anything about it. Let's have some practical conversation. 3 ways. Here's some practical tools. 3 ways you can implement rest this week. Type this in the comment. I appreciate your honesty on this issue. I love that people are drawn to. Yes, 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 yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you so much. Yeah. I had to there were times, and so there were times when I was on call 365 days a year. In prior roles, it was required. And I even in those roles, I had to develop some kind of capacity to have trust for my team. They were calling on me after hours all the time until I spent more time with them to create processes on how do we evaluate situations. You only call me when it's an absolute emergency. At first, it was a position where I was on call and they utilized. It could be 501 they called me, 601 they called me. You didn't even try to work the situation out. One, because they didn't believe that I would trust their decision making. So leaders, you have to meet with your teams, have these conversations, and create processes for them to follow. You can't tell them I trust your decision making and you have not poured into them or you don't know what their decision making is. So you have to develop teams, cultivate teams where you can have this level of trust. Then you increase your what you give them, and so you can see how they make decisions. Okay, so let me give you 3 ways to implement rest this week. All right, and let's make it real practical. 3 ways you can implement rest as a leadership strategy, because I'm talking about sustainability. You as a leader, you will not be able to always be the person if you don't recover. Leaders don't just lead well, they know how to recover well. Any great leader that you know they have a recovery plan. They have a recovery plan. So number one, type this in the comments, type this in the chat, and share this out. Number one, schedule recovery like you schedule these meetings. If it's not on your calendar, because I know these days, most people operate by calendar. If it's not on your calendar, what you're saying is it's not a priority. If it's not on your calendar, it's not on your it's not a priority. So block out on your phone. I want you to block out here's the specifics. No phone, no scroll, no work time. No phone, no scroll, no work time. Even if it's just 20 minutes of stillness. That is going to be very hard for people because we always plugged into something. We're always plugged in. 20 minutes of stillness. I'm inviting you to carve out, prioritize it on your calendar, 20 minutes of stillness. If you've never done it before, you can give yourself an hour. 20 minutes of stillness. Block that out. Schedule your recovery, your reset time like you prioritize and schedule your meetings. You're not going to be late for a meeting that's on your calendar. The church call you and tell you y'all got a meeting at 2 o'clock. You're going to be there. Your supervisor call you and tell you need to be somewhere at 2:30. You're going to be there. They need you to schedule a meeting for Monday at 10 o'clock. You're going to be there. Schedule, block out your stillness time. Title it whatever you need to title it, but block off 20 minutes of stillness. If you got 30, block out 30 minutes. Block out very specific stillness time. All right. Number 2. Number 1 is schedule recovery like you schedule meetings. Put it on your calendar. And don't just put it on there, follow through with it. Number two, I want you to start leading with boundaries, having healthy conversations. Start communicating your limits without apology. We'll have this conversation. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. No, you're not sorry. What I am doing is being more conscious of my energy. Lead with boundaries. Know your situation. Know where you can implement healthy boundaries. Lead with boundaries so people will know what to expect from this relationship, what to expect from this encounter. When they encounter you, they need to know what to expect. People may have had 24-hour access to you and 24-hour access to your energy at one point in time. But here's what I want you to understand. You owe no one 24-hour access to your energy. No one. No one. Not even your children. If you're in a relationship, not your partner, not even your spouse, you owe no one 24-hour access to your energy. Set healthy boundaries. In relationships and marriages, people need space. And they don't need forced space. Have a conversation with your spouse, with your partner. Like, look, you do you for this amount of time. I'm going to do me. We good. Opposed to you get into this heated situation and you are forced to have space. It is good to have independent operating space. Back when I used to do premarital counseling with couples, new couples kind of, forming together, I would have a conversation with them, and I would always encourage 3 types of spaces of time. If there were children involved, I always told them, make sure you have time as a family. That's very important. So the children don't feel left out with this new person coming in, she's taking over, he's taking over, all this warped thinking. And then I would also encourage them to have couples time where you are very intentional with scheduling, not haphazard. Oh, you want to go out to dinner tonight? No. If you're in a partnership or a relationship, a marriage, that you value that relationship, then be very intentional with planning. And in the space I was in just this week resting, one of the ladies poured in. She said, make sure you're very intentional in your relationships. So I'm passing that on. Be very intentional. If you're in a marriage, a couple, you want to be very intentional with that. That's even creating space so they will know I can anticipate this. And then the third time that I will encourage people to have just time alone. Time alone so you can, one, not be so inundated in that couple situation that you don't know who you are, that you lose your identity. Number 2, so inundated with your kids that when they're gone, then the couple no longer have anything in common. So if throughout your relationship, if throughout your life that you have these 3 buckets of time already built in, then you're not in a position to be lost if something should happen. Granted, we don't want anything to happen, but children will grow up. They will grow up. They're going to leave y'all. When they turn 13, 14, 15, they don't want to be, some of them do like to be around their parents like that. Some of them have some, I'll use the word interesting relationships. And some of them, they want to get away from y'all. Then y'all all sad and sappy and disappointed because they want to leave. They're going to grow up and they're going to leave. You're supposed to develop them, but that's a conversation for another day. So I always encourage couples when I was doing premarital counseling to have 3 buckets of time. Time with the children, time as a couple, and time alone. So that you will always know who you are, right? And you don't get lost in that. I don't know who I am. Yeah, every single day I wake up, I know who I am. And if you're in a place where you're trying to find yourself, that's okay. This is a very good start. And then number 3, I said number 1, the practical thing that you can do this week, schedule your recovery time like you schedule meetings, 20 minutes of stillness, lead with boundaries because no one should have 24-hour access to your energy. No one. Create those, lead with boundaries. And I also said do that without apology. We're very quick to say, oh, I apologize, but Build up your muscle to stop apologizing, okay? You have that free agency not to feel a need to apologize every time you lead out of in a conversation, all right? And then number 3, excuse me, you all. I'm going to say this. I want you to, this is number 3. Practice micro rest. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, practice micro rest. You don't need a vacation to rest. Okay? You can go on a vacation and y'all tickle me. And you know, I've done this too. I'm raising my hand. Guilty. You go on a vacation and you have a whole itinerary. You might well be at work like, I need a break from all this. You don't need a vacation to rest. I want you to try small pauses. We talked about pauses throughout your day. Here's an example of resting throughout your day. You can, as a rest practice, you can take a walk, a stillness walk on your 15-minute break if you work. If you're retired or if you're otherwise not working, you can take a walk. Practice, this is another micro rest. Excuse me. Practice deep breathing on a daily basis, not when you're in a chronic stress situation. Practice deep breathing. Build breath work into your daily rhythm. And of course, we hear this one quite often, journaling. And then this last one, micro rest. Micro rest. I want you to try to eat without multitasking, because this is what we do. We're on the computer and we're eating, and then we stop eating, push the food to the side, and get back to the computer. So these micro moments of rest, the walk, the deep breathing, the journal, the eating without multitasking, these are ways of rest that rewire your nervous system. And so remind your body that it's safe to slow down. Type that in the comments. It is safe to slow down. So I want to challenge you this week. Take one intentional action to rest. One intentional action to rest. That might mean saying no to a commitment, putting your phone away at night so that you're not scrolling, and we talk about this often. Or it may mean taking an afternoon walk in silence. Challenge yourself this week. If you've not been resting, challenge yourself this week. Because here's what I want to leave with you. Leaders who rest lead longer. Leaders who rest influence deeper. Leaders who rest actually thrive and not just survive because they're not in survival mode all the time. When you rest, you have longer capacity. So if this resonated with you, go ahead on and make sure that you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Share with others. Make sure you share this out. Facebook. Share my channel. Share this live with anyone you know who needs to be reminded that rest is not a reward. I put it in my stories yesterday. Rest is a requirement. If we're building, if we want to build on who we are, we always like to say, oh, I'm living my best life, but you're struggling. Your Instagram, your Photoshop, your Facebook highlights, your YouTube, but you're stressed out. Like you so stressed out and miserable, you have this facade. Whoever I'm talking to, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take your mask off. If you have to keep this mask on 24/7, who are the people in your life that really know you to encourage you to take your mask off? Baby, take the cape off and rest. Rest, renewal, restoration is the real superpower. There is no badge of honor in burning out. There is no badge of honor in burning out. I just want to encourage you all. And I want to say this because I really want you, when you're thinking about leading, if you're not demonstrating to people that you take a break, that you prioritize wellness, then what you're saying is it's not okay to take care of myself. You do not want to inadvertently influence teams and those around you to be in this hustle culture, because what hustle culture is doing is causing stress, anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, and chronic health conditions. Do you want to be in that bucket? You on the grind all the time, but now you're on medications for high blood pressure. I'm just asking. You on the grind all the time, so you can't even plan a good meal. So you're eating all this bad food. So now you done gained 15 pounds. You're trying to figure out how to get them off. More stress. You on the grind all the time. You got all these processed foods and snacks in your drawer. And so you just eating whatever. Now you got high cholesterol. Y'all see where I'm going with this? When you don't prioritize rest, not only do it affect your physical, your mental, because if you're not prioritizing rest, you're not giving nobody your best. So let's close with this. We're building so that we can do life well, and we can do life well alone. We're not just talking about today. When you practice sustainable rest, when you create your actual rest plan and not just say, I'm just going to chill out tonight, tomorrow my rest day. No, build a legitimate rest plan and execute it. Because then what you show people is that this is truly a priority for me. I'm telling y'all, not just a self-care plan. Self-care and rest are two different things. Self-care and rest are two different things. So I want you to build an actual rest plan. And so let's close with this affirmation, because I want to speak over your life of leadership. Leaders always give to other people. Here's your chance on this Figured Out Friday with your girl, Coach Regina, to be poured into yourself. This is what I want you to type in the chat, and then I want to make sure you share this out with somebody who may need it. I lead from rest, not rush. This is your new affirmation. This is your rest affirmation, right? Before I give you affirmation, let me run this back. Let me run the playback right here. Got Coach DeBlair on here. Run the playback. We're going to run it back. Think about rest in this way. Rest. Reconnect with your values. Evaluate your energy. Surrender what you can't control. Trust that stillness is productive. Now, here's my affirmation that I want you to sit in and meditate on. Sit in this space. I lead from rest and not rush. My influence is sustainable because my self-care is strategic. My influence is sustainable because my self-care is strategic. I give from overflow, not exhaustion. I am doing life well. And until you embody that, I want you to, this is your practice. This affirmation, I want you to build your rest plan so you begin to embody this affirmation. I lead from rest. If that's not you right now, you got to create your rest plan. I lead from rest and not rush. My influence is sustainable because my self-care is strategic. Do you have a self-care plan? What do you do to take care of yourself each and every day? I give from overflow, not from exhaustion. I am doing life well. That's what I have for you all. And so take this with you throughout the week as leaders, because this is what I want you to understand. The world does not need another burned out influencer. It needs whole, rested, grounded souls. We don't need to be led by people who are burned out. But we need to see real examples, what it looked like to be whole and rested. So, I hope this has been helpful to you this morning. I hope you've been able to I want you to take that framework of rest and apply it to your life so that you can keep doing life well. And if you're in that progress or if you're in the process, that's a good thing. Remember, rest is your reset. Rest is your reset. And so make sure you share this out. A couple of things before I get out of here. I'm live every Friday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, YouTube, Facebook. And if you want to connect with me, DM me, message me. I am closing out 2025 with my last cohort. If you do not enroll by November the 1st, you will miss me for 2025 and you will have to catch me in 2026. And for all of my ladies out here, all of my ladies, the 2026 No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference, where you can get more of this as well as some very powerful speakers for 2026 and some new experiences, including an actual live yoga session at the 2026 No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference. Make sure you head to my website, excuse me, www.reginalacking. Of course, I'll put that in the comments, .com, reginalacking.com. Grab your conference tickets. And if you would like to be a sponsor or a vendor at the conference, message me. The vendor application is online. But if you would like to partner with us, like Greater Pearly Grove, and I have a couple of other sponsors who've already partnered with us, then reach out and I will gladly send you that sponsorship package. We're giving out 2 scholarships in 2026, and so I'm so grateful for that. Even if you can't be in Mississippi, the conference will be in Jackson, Mississippi. Even if you can't attend and you want to contribute to the scholarship for those 2 graduating seniors, one from Jim Hill High School and one from Lanier High School. If you know anything about those high schools, they're in the inner city of Jackson. And to be able to give back. I'm not a millionaire, but what I do believe is if 50 people give $1, there's $50 that I can give to them. So you don't have to be all this big, but everything that you do to show young people that, one, you don't have to be an athlete to care and give back, because that's what we tend to see. You don't have to be a millionaire to give back. We just have to come collectively together and make a decision to support one another. So I'm inviting you and I'm asking you for your support for the 2026 No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference. Because we don't flinch when it comes to our health. The 2026 theme actually is You Are the Disruptor. And we're going to dive deep into that conversation. What does it look like to disrupt? What does a disruptor do? I'm getting excited about that. So let me just close out right here. Thank you all so much for pulling up with me on this Figured Out Friday. What we done figured out is that rest is required. Make sure you share this out. Message me, drop any comments, drop your takeaways. I will put that rest framework in the comments. So thank you all so much. Have a well weekend and identify one of those practices that you're going to put into play this week. I will see you all next week, 6 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, YouTube as well as Facebook. We're pretty close to our 1,000 subscribers on Instagram, and then we'll go back live there as well. But in the meantime, y'all be good and have a well weekend. I'll talk to y'all soon.